This is Creatovate. Discover creativity and innovation in the world around us and get inspired to pursue your creative passion.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Creatovate Live. I am Jason, and hey, whether you're coming to us through the podcast or online at YouTube, Creatovate Live, we're so glad you're here. And I'm here with my co-host, Kayla Lindgren. KD,
Hello.
Hey, we're here. We did it. We're
it's
like
exciting.
episode 2. We made it to episode 2.
Yep, we've talked about this for a while.
Yeah, I
we're
mean,
finally
we
here.
got the first one under our belt. We're here at the second one. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about side hustles and what it looks like to turn your hobbies and your passions and kind of run with them and see what could happen.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, for you and I, actually, we've worked together on several side projects. So, we've got a couple of things going on the side all the time, and it's just, I think it's an expression of creativity to think about, like, hey, what is your passion, and like how can we get that involved and even make some money along the side too. I mean,
Right.
that's always
That's
a little bit of
always-
a
that's always
motivation,
bonus.
right?
Yes.
So as we were thinking about this week. I know there were a couple stories that came to mind.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing about side hustles are, like you have the great successes, and you're like, oh man, that was great, and the client's happy. Maybe you make a little money,
Right,
you can buy
right.
something cool. And then there's some that
There's always downsides.
might not go as, let's say, as planned.
Right.
Yeah, we were talking about a couple. You had a story that you want to share.
Oh man, side hustles. There's so many different stories, and I think when you kind of operate in a creative lifestyle, ideas pop up all the time. And so I'm constantly like, oh, I've got a new company I want to start. Oh, I've got this other idea I want to do. And in the same lane, I kind of stick with graphic design though.
Right.
And I thought, what a great opportunity, weddings. So many people I know are getting married. There's weddings all the time. And so I was
Right.
like, I want to be the graphic designer that the niche is weddings.
Right.
And so I kind of went into that, and I know that
The wedding designer.
Oh yeah, graphic designing
Right.
for weddings. And that's like event to invitations to all the different fun things. And I some of you out there might cringe when you hear me say this, but I jumped into it really fast, and I kind of didn't do the probably work it takes to put into it ahead of time. So I started off with no contracts.
Brides and grooms are notoriously just very easy to work with.
Oh, they're so easy,
There's not
right?
a lot of expectation that comes along with that day.
Oh my word, it's so crazy. So here I am working with several different brides at the same time, no contracts, just literally text confirmations of things. And so
Right.
I ended up just like working myself into the ground that summer, created some really cool designs, but didn't actually get paid for some of them because I didn't follow through really well. So that was one of those side hustle moments.
So that was more like a follow-through thing than them just kind of expecting like, oh, I thought this was free. Because there's that too, right?
then
Like you
they-
do the side hustle and you're like, oh, I'm doing it. I got a
Right, and
client.
I didn't get to say, oh, let's look at the contract. It was, well, you did text me one time, So that was one of those side hustles. I jumped in so fast, and it was
Yeah.
exciting and fun, but it definitely taught me some lessons. So.
Yeah, we're always learning. I think that's
Always
one
learning.
thing, no matter
What
what you're
about
doing.
you? Have you ever done something?
Yeah, definitely comes to mind. And we talked about this last episode, just like all the things that I think get started along the way, and different
yeah.
businesses and thoughts. And I'm not one to really turn away an idea. Like if an opportunity presents itself, I'm like, oh, that sounds great.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna do that now. And I remember this one opportunity that came along. A friend of mine approached me. He said, "Hey, there's a food and beverage contract that's coming up at a tennis center. It was a tennis
Okay.
and swim center. It's like really high end." And so it was kind of like this mini restaurant, like this little cafe. And I'm like, sure, like
You just
side
decided to
hustle.
start a
I'm going into the
restaurant?
restaurant business. I'm a cafe manager now. I'll do that. One of the most difficult like
Business
spaces.
cards the next
yeah.
day.
Oh yeah. Business cards, logo. First thing
I
you
get
start
it.
with is your brand. We're designers after all. And got into that, and the level of expectation that came along with the tennis club was way through the roof. And I'm trying to make burrito. I mean, it was not good. My wife was involved too. I can't even bring this up to this day with her. I'll be honest.
It's a source subject.
I did it for 2 years before we just parted ways as kindly as we could. But
Your business.
You learn. But
parted ways with your business.
Yeah, my marriage is fine.
Yeah, you made that sound weird.
Well,
okay.
yeah.
But you definitely learned.
But you learned, and it came down to agreement. Part of it is the agreement. Part is I think
contracts. Yeah.
Just what are you actually getting into, and not being courted by just this new opportunity.
But I think the thing I love about it though is taking these ideas and not just letting them flop, but being like, hey, I want to do that. Let's do this. And putting the work in to make them better. Like you said, every time you do something, you learn.
Yeah, you learn a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm excited today because we have, first of all, it's our first guest ever on the show, right? So it's our first guest ever that we got coming on. And it was just so appropriate, I think, today for, we're talking about side hustle. You want to introduce our guest?
Yeah,
I think
so
we got
she's actually,
Sam is she's going to the green room. She's gonna get
So we actually have Kayla Lindgren coming in today, and when we were talking about side hustles, it just fits so perfect. She runs her own side hustle. She is a mom. She's got an amazing family. She has a job, and she learns how to balance it all so well. So Kayla,
hi
you're
Kylie.
in here.
Hi Jason.
Hey,
Welcome.
Kayla.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited.
Yeah,
So
thanks for being here.
I kind of just wanted to know a little more about you. Can you tell us, how did you get started? What is your side hustle?
Yeah, so I was in college and my feet size actually grew miraculously.
Oh.
In like a 3-month span. So I went up like 2 shoe sizes. And so my friend, you have to invest in all these new shoes. So my friend just said, hey, Kayla, you should look at this app. It's just an app that people resell clothing. You could update some of your wardrobe. And I was like, okay, that's like a great way. You're in college, right?
Right.
You're not looking to spend a lot of money. And I just stumbled into this app that was people just reselling clothes that they were done with. And I got a couple pairs of shoes and I started looking at my closet and looking at things that were just sitting there that I wasn't wearing.
Right.
And I just decided, man, I think I might start posting some of these things and seeing if any of it will make me some money.
Right.
Yeah, so it was this growth spurt
Yes,
that
it was
really
this
got you in your side
miraculous
hustle.
growth spurt. Yes.
Okay, so from there though, so you've got these clothes, shoes, things. Like, where do you go from there? Like, what platform? How did you decide what was a next step? You know, like I think for people, it's like you've got the idea, and then or this opportunity, and you're like, wow, what is the next step?
Yeah. So I think for me, I mean, honestly, it was just starting with what I already had, and then just figuring out the different demographics. Like as I started just to research, I just specifically had bought those shoes from one app, but then the more I kind of got into it, I figured out that there were 7, 8, 9 different apps that were all doing the same thing. But the further I got into it, I started to realize that each one of these apps had a certain demographic. And so then I started to get strategic. Sometimes I think when we're trying to do a side hustle, we have a really great product, we just don't have the right platform to sell ourselves and sell the things that we're making. And so it's not the best return on investment. And so just the more I got into it and the more research I did, I would just start to get strategic and post certain things on only specific apps because I knew that was the demographic that would buy a pair of shoes or a t-shirt.
So the apps that you're talking about, I mean, what are some examples and which one maybe did you land on or served you best?
Yeah. So I've sold at quite a few different ones. Specifically, I'd started, my 2 main hitters were something called Vinted. So that's all like it can be on your phone, super easy. And then the one that I'm really married to now is called Poshmark.
All right. Yeah. Okay. And I know we talked a little bit earlier before the show, and you're a new mom.
Yeah, I am.
And you said that kind of changed things for you a little bit as well.
Totally. Yeah. So, I mean, your baby, like everyone says it goes so fast. It does. And so, like, there's been clothes, like people are so sweet. They give you clothes and things, but there's stuff with tags on it still. And so as they grow out of it so fast. And so I've even just started to expand my business now with catering to kids. And on the app, like it will go through and organize everything. So you can sell men's clothes, women's clothes, kids' clothes, baby clothes. And so it's just been fun to expand my business that way and things that my daughter has outgrown.
And these are not just things now from your closet. You've kind of expanded now. Do you go out and look for certain types of items?
So originally I was just trying to get rid of things that I don't wear. And right now I still do that. But if you're looking into getting into this business, at first it was just to help me pay down college debt, and now it's our vacation fund. And so it's kind of become this fun hobby, and I think it's awesome when you have a side hustle that makes you money that also feels like your hobby, and it feels that rewarding. And so I'll go to Goodwill or Value Village, or Rotary auctions are a great place, because you can get a big bag of clothes for $5, and then you're just selling things at the right price that you know will sell immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have a question. In this field that you're in, it sounds like there's a lot of apps. There's a lot of different people that do it.
Tons.
Is there anything specifically or special that you do that makes yourself stand out than others?
Yeah. I think what I said earlier, like making sure whatever you're posting on that app, the people that are buying on that app are the people that are looking for that product that you're selling. So getting strategic there. And then the other thing probably is, just knowing your market, like just really, really knowing what people are looking for and just doing your research.
Now, coming from a brand marketing background, I can't help but think of, is there a way that you kind of differentiate? Like, are you able to create your own kind of brand identity on the app?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think one thing, as I was even just doing more research on these apps, is I would decide that whatever I would be selling, I would give people ideas of how they could wear it. And so many people are like hesitant, do I want to buy something that someone's already wore? Or like, why would I purchase your striped dress over someone else's striped dress? I'm actually going to design a whole look around other things that might be for sale in my closet as well. And so then people can bundle things. And I think I'm not someone that necessarily struggles with putting outfits together, but so many of my friends are. And so if you can sell a full visual package of something, like you need all 3 of these pieces in your closet, and they're all from my closet, and I want to sell them to you, it helps people connect the dots.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what, if someone's out there, they're listening today and they're like, I've got this idea, and maybe it's the same kind of market you're in, or maybe it's something completely different. But if they're out there and they're thinking, man, I want to pursue this, I want to do this, what kind of tips or suggestions would you give someone in starting their side hustle?
Yeah, first I think just take a deep breath and just breathe, because I sometimes I think that we get so caught up in putting so much pressure on ourselves with it having to produce right away. I've been in it now for over 8 years, 7, 8 years. And what's been so much fun is along the way, it's just grown. And so I think for some people that's a little bit easier said than done if you're really, really trying to build really fast. But for me, it was just something that I just took a deep breath, and I was just so thankful and just celebrating the little wins. Like I remember the first time I hit my first $100 sale. Yeah. And my husband and I, we took like $10 of that and we went out to ice cream. And so I just think, just celebrate the little wins and make sure it's a hobby. And just always be on the lookout for how can you be even more creative? How can you distinguish yourself even more? That's based on your personality and who you are. And that'll help it feel like a hobby, and it'll help it feel like something that's filling you up, not one more thing that you have to do.
That's awesome.
I love
That's
that.
awesome.
Well, Kayla, thank you so much for
Thanks
being
for
here.
having me, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool. So cool. One of the things, Kylie, that and we had talked about before, and I hear Kayla talk about is like, it's putting some time in. It's trial and error. You know what I mean? Like we talk about, even in whether it's design or you're thinking about starting a business, like those trials and errors teach you just as much as the successes do sometimes. And just find, like I heard her, it's just finding that spot, right? And I know, one of the books that came to mind, and I'll say this again, we'll put all of our resources in the description on our YouTube channel. So if you hear us mention anything, it'll be there. But there's a book years ago, it came out, actually. It's got some age on it now, but it's called Outliers. And it really, the concept of this 10,000 hours. So it's like, until you get that 10,000 hours, you really are pro level, and just developing like, hey, doing this time and time again, coming up against some obstacles and overcoming that. I think, I don't know, it's key. It's key to learning, right? I kind of heard her say a little bit about it.
And it's encouraging. I love what she said about finding something that is your hobby or your passion, your niche, and running with that. So it's not just adding another thing on top of your plate that doesn't bring joy to you.
Right. Okay. So perfect example. Like we use 2 examples of like a little bit of a failure. And I would say that is exactly the point for mine. I was in an area that wasn't necessarily my passion area. Like, starting a cafe, the restaurant business, I don't know, it's not high on my list. It might be for somebody out there, but I do think that's important. It's like, hey, is this in my passion area? Can I truly, put myself into this? I think it's important. Okay, Katie. So we got a segment coming up, it's called what? What's inspiring you? What is inspiring you?
So just thinking about different things. What is something right on top of your head right now? Something that's inspiring you, Jason? Go.
Oh man. Okay. So, all right.
Put you on the spot.
But you know what? It's a vulnerability. Like if something does come to mind, all right, this is going to be a moment of vulnerability here.
Sure.
What comes to mind and what I've been into lately is a Netflix documentary called Cheer.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, and it's what it sounds like. It's about cheerleading. It's about cheerleading. There's a documentary on Netflix right now called Cheer. And look, for those of you out there that have seen this thing, they're all going, yeah, that is awesome, because it is. And here's the premise, okay? It's this small junior college cheerleading program that goes to these national competitions against the biggest schools in the nation and wins year after year after year in these massive cheerleading competitions. It's unbelievable. And there's so many underdog stories. And the way that it's shot.
I'm always for an
come on,
underdog
you're a good
Everyone
underdog.
loves
Yeah,
underdog
come on.
story.
It's the United States. Come on, America. Yeah. But yeah, there's just the storytelling, the way it's shot, the interviews. It's really cool. It's really well done. The other thing that I would say, and this is what hooked me. Okay. So this is in the promo of the series. Okay. The coach was talking about, and I jotted it down here because it was like, it's something that I actually keep in my notes.
I want to hear it.
I'm like, look, I'm about this cheerleading.
Share it with all
All right. So the coach said this about practice. She said, do it until you get it right, then keep doing it until you can't get it wrong. And I was like, oh, I'm in. I'm in. I'm going to binge watch it. Yeah. Like she is just like so for these athletes. And anyway, so that's mine. What about you? Okay. So what's inspiring you?
Something that's inspiring me. This is going to sound silly, but Facebook.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of it?
Never. No.
Oh yeah.
Tell me more about it.
Actually, not just Facebook in general, but Facebook groups. It's kind of this fun new thing.
Super Bowl, right? Didn't the Super Bowl have an ad? Yeah.
Okay. So the Super Bowl had this like crazy cool ad about these Facebook groups, and it got me kind of thinking about it. So I went on and I looked, and I found, there's tons of groups, but they get so specific. So I actually found one for females doing digital marketing and designing. So I got accepted into the group, and it's been
there was an application. So wait, let's stop there. There's an application process. I mean, how in depth did that go? Like,
it wasn't
like
too crazy.
Photo and resume,
no, it wasn't that intense. But it basically a questionnaire, and then they let me know that I was actually in the group, which it's kind of nice having that, so hey, everyone in here genuinely is in the same field.
Right.
But it's been a spot where if I'm working on a logo, it's kind of a cool spot. I could put something on there and say, what feedback help make me stronger? I constantly go on there and I look at other people's things and I'm like, man, if you just tweaked that, if you did that, or even just to give encouragement, because sometimes creative jobs can be hard. It can take a little bit of a toll on you.
Yeah.
And so just having an outlet, I love logging on, going to that group and being like, oh, I'm working on a new project. I can't wait to share it to that group. Yeah. So it's just something that's been inspiring me lately.
I love that. I love that. So cool. Well, that's what we have for today. So
Startups.
Startup side hustle. Get your side hustle on. Yep. Just want to thank a couple people each time. This program's made possible. Imagination Mechanics in Paulsville, Washington. That's the space that we're in. Just an unbelievable a space that we get to share here. And of course, My Lion Marketing at mylionmarketing.com.
And we're just so thankful. Thank you for everyone who listened to this podcast or watched on YouTube at Creatovate Live. We'll see you next time.